Google has to open up Android.
That was exactly the same argument that Microsoft used with Internet Explorer, that they were going to integrate Internet Explorer into the OS and you couldn't remove it. And then the judge went and removed it on his computer and said, nope.
Bad on Google for trying to make the App Store or the Play Store such an integral part of the operating system, and then really bad on them for lying to me and saying it was so they could push a security fix without actually having to push a security fix, because I just don't think they ever did that.
Will other app stores have access to the apps that are on Google Play? And then what happens if, you have two stores on your phone and they both have the same app, and who manages it and stuff like that?
Postgres 17 is released. What do you guys think?
Not much, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's the kind of boost you don't see. You don't, version to version of anything, basically, you don't ever see that kind of speed improvement.
Every time in my life that I have chosen MySQL over Postgres, which has been 2 times, I have regretted it. Hello, how the tech are you? My name is HK Perrin. I'm a software engineer, and I've got 2 relatively software engineering related stories this week. My first one is Google has to open up Android. Google's illegal monopoly is starting to really come under fire as Judge James Donato issues his final ruling in Epic v. Google. For 3 years, Google will have to allow access to its Play Store to third-party app stores, as well as distribute those stores from within the Play Store itself. In addition, Google can no longer require Google Play billing for apps on its Play Store, must allow apps to tell users how to pay through other means, must not offer incentives to launch apps exclusively through the Play Store, cannot offer incentives to developers to only list their apps on the Play Store, and cannot offer device makers incentives to not pre-install other app stores. In my opinion, this doesn't go far enough. Google should let the user decide which app store or stores they want installed during the initial setup of their OS, of Android. There's no technical reason why the Play Store and Play Store services have to be so deeply integrated within Android. Android is just as capable without them. And I should know because I've been using a de-Googled Android phone as a development device for the past 3 years. One notable thing Epic was seeking that they didn't get is for Google to not be able to tie Android's APIs to Google Play. The reason it's notable is because a similar thing was required of Microsoft in the ruling of United States v. Microsoft in 2001, where Microsoft was required to open up its Windows APIs to third parties. And Google has issued a statement that they will appeal the decision. What do you guys think?
So one of the things that Google said a while ago that they were doing, that they said was like a security feature, right, is that they were going to intertwine parts of the OS with Google Play services such that if their reason for it, as they told me, a Samsung user was, well, Samsung's a shitty company too, and they're never going to upgrade your OS. So if we need to do some kind of security fixes, we can actually do it through Play services. And I thought to myself at the time, I'm like, oh, this sounds like they're not really going to be sending me any security fixes through this really so much as just making sure that their app store's tentacles are all the way into my operating system.
That was exactly the same argument that Microsoft used with Internet Explorer, that they were going to integrate Internet Explorer into the OS and you couldn't remove it. And then the judge went and removed it on his computer and said, nope. But yeah, anyways.
There's a way in which the, I guess it is the handset manufacturers, everybody's doing some dumb stuff here, right? Like the handset manufacturer, like it's a company like Samsung, like they either need to, after they stop supporting the phone, they need to unlock it, make it easy for you to just use an XDA or whatever, or have even have a tool on their phone that guides you through the process of installing like a third-party version of Android if you don't want to not get security updates. So bad on them. Bad on Google for trying to make the App Store or the Play Store such an integral part of the operating system, and then really bad on them for lying to me and saying it was so they could push a security fix without actually having to push a security fix, because I just don't think they ever did that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been using this phone that has an operating system called EOS, which is a de-Googled version of Android, for about 3 years now. And I've had it go through 3 major Android upgrades. And I use 2 app stores on that one that are neither of which is Play Store. I use one called App Lounge, which is like the one that comes standard on EOS. And I use another one called F-Droid, which has a lot of like the open source and free apps available on it. And I install apps from both of those stores, and it works great. You know, no Google Play at all, works great. It even works with Google services. I have this, I don't know if you'd call it an app. It's called Micro G. It's basically like it allows you to use those Google Play services without actually having Google Play installed. And it works. It all works great. So you absolutely do not need Google Play services, and you do not need Google Play as much as Google tries to tell you that you do.
So what happens if, like, will other app stores have access to the apps that are on Google Play? And then what happens if, you know, you have 2 stores on your phone and they both have the same app, and who like manages it and stuff like that?
So basically what the ruling is that Google has to allow these third-party stores access to the apps on the Play Store. So if I am running a third-party store, I can go into the Play Store and grab all of the apps out of the Play Store and provide them through my own store. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that as a developer, I'm forced to allow these third-party apps access. Part of the ruling is that Google can provide the ability for an app maker to basically, when they're uploading their app, have like a checkbox that says, like, you know, don't allow third-party app stores to pull from the Play Store. They just can't incentivize you to check that. They can't incentivize you to be exclusive to the Play Store. So you will have the ability, if you want to make sure that no one else can get your apps through another app store. I don't know why you would do that. My guess is that Google is probably going to skirt the law and find some way that, like, they could incentivize you to make it so that your app is only on the Play Store. But, you know, according to this ruling, you will have the ability to tell these other app stores, or tell Google to not allow these other app stores to take your app. And then what was your second question?
If you have 2 app stores on your phone and they both have like the same app, like which one knows how to manage it, basically?
So I don't know exactly the technical details, but I can tell you my own experience of having the same app installed through both the App Lounge and F-Droid on my own phone. Basically, if one of them has an update, it'll tell you there's an update available and you can update it. And the other one, you know, the one that didn't have the update, it'll see that it has, like, you have a version that's greater than the version that it has in the store. And it doesn't really cause an issue.
So I could see, where somebody might. This really gets complicated too, because what if there's an app store out there that's sort of known, you know, they're not doing anything illegal, they're not violating the terms of service or whatever, but let's say the app store is known for, I don't know, get rich quick schemes or casino apps or something that you don't want to maybe necessarily have your app next to. It would be nice if there was a way where Google would also allow, like, whitelist, blacklist of different app stores. Like, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just the checkbox, you go allow the other app stores, and then maybe here's a text box. Are there any app stores you don't want carrying your app?
I think that would kind of be up to Google at that point.
Right.
Whether they'd want to allow that. I imagine it's in Google's interest as an illegal monopoly that they would only provide the one checkbox that says don't allow any other app stores to have my app.
Great. So there's you know, like Tim Pool puts out his own app store where it's just like Rumble, a version of Tinder where it lies to you and says that you have matches, and like Truth Social, and that's all that's on the app store. And then he pulls your app and you're like, well, fuck.
I don't want my app on the Tim Shop.
No, but I imagine there's also like ways in which, like, I don't think that this thing could possibly require Google to, I guess, work with or allow any fly-by-night operation or whatever to like pull from the apps. You know what I'm saying?
My understanding is that that is the case. Any third-party app will have access to the apps on the Play Store.
Also, I think we got the name wrong. It's probably going to be the Tim App Pool.
The Tim App Pool. God, I don't have the soundboard up right now. Otherwise, I'd play a sound for you, Matt.
So I didn't read the actual ruling itself, so there might be details in there that I just don't know. But it sounds like any third-party app store will have the ability to pull apps from the Play Store.
So there's a way in which this could be really cool too, like where it, like maybe let's say we did a third-party app store, but all we did was pulled the apps that we recommend, right? That we think that if you just got an Android phone, you need these apps. And so you could just, you open the thing and you just go install all. And it just gives you like the Dave, Matt, and HK, the How the Tech Are You recommended apps. I think that's like there's cool stuff that could be going on there where like you get it, or there's maybe there's a way in which you could have your own, maybe even have a system by which you almost make a thing that's like your own custom app store, that when you reinstall your phone, it just pulls all the apps that you have like in a list or something. I'm just thinking of like different cool things that could actually happen here with this kind of access outside of just competing app stores. I think there's like really cool customization and like bringing back your phone to a place where you're like, you know what? I don't know why I installed all this crap. I'm reinstalling my phone. I'm putting on HK Droid and just reinstalling all the stuff that HK says I need, and we'll go from there.
So that's kind of like what Samsung's app store is. Samsung has an app store called the Galaxy Store, which it's not what they recommend, but it's like all of the Samsung Galaxy apps, basically.
Oh, and they all suck.
They do, yes, but that's beside the point. They'll push like updates to the Galaxy Store first, and then like once they get through Google's whole process, those same updates will come out on the Play Store. So if you have a Galaxy phone or a Galaxy tablet, having the Galaxy Store, if you use those apps, which you probably shouldn't because there are better apps, but if you did, then having the Galaxy Store is like a bonus because you get those apps first. You get the updates first. As opposed to something like the Amazon App Store, which is it's just like, it's not Amazon apps, it's just like a regular app store, like you said, a competing app store to the Play Store. So actually in this in the arguments on the Epic side, they were talking about how even Amazon, a tech behemoth as they are, couldn't crack this like chicken and egg problem where, if you don't have the apps, you can't attract the users. And if you don't have the users, no one's going to submit their apps. So that's kind of why they're forcing Google to open up and let other app stores bring these apps that are on the Play Store into their own app stores. Because even like Amazon, as big as they are, you buy a Fire tablet and you've got like maybe 1/10 the apps that are on the Play Store available to you because Amazon's app store just is not big.
Yeah, and then you end up doing, it's fine for like me, I suppose, or for either of you, like you're like, oh, well, that I need actually a older version of this. I got to go find it on one of these APK sites or whatever. That's fine for any of us, but most people don't want to do that, and I don't think most people should do that. I don't know. This all seems real good. I just imagine that there's going to be ways in which there's just going to be we're going to hear about some kind of thing that we're not going to like from one of these app stores. Also, real quick, do we know how the monetization then is going to be handled? I guess if you're not going through Google Play, you just click the subscribe thing and it just takes you to the website or whatever, right?
Yes. So that's essentially how Epic started this, is they pushed out an update to Fortnite, led you, when you clicked on like the purchase button or, subscribe button or whatever, it led you to their own website that you could sign up and pay through their own payment processor. Right. And that's how they were trying to get around Google's like 30% cut when you go through the Google Play payment services. And that was against Google's terms of service for the Play Store. So Google kicked out Fortnite from the Play Store. And there was this like Google, like Epic planned this, like they knew it would happen, and they had like the social media backlash ready to go. So they, started trying to get like what was it, free Fortnite, hashtag free Fortnite trending, which they actually did. Like Fortnite's an incredibly popular game. And then they had these lawsuits ready to go against both Apple and Google. And the Google one, the Apple one was settled a while ago. The Google one has taken longer. And so we're just now, getting the point where it's settled, and Google, turns out, is an illegal monopoly. The jury ruled Google is an illegal monopoly. And Google now has to open up Android in much the same way that like Apple has had to open up iOS in Europe. It's just in America, we can't be consistent.
Well, they're coming for Apple next too, probably.
Well, they already did, and it was not as successful as their lawsuit against Google. But who knows? This might set a precedent that maybe they could.
Right, somebody else could come after Apple. So this is great. My only question, and I don't know if you know this, is are these changes are they to be implemented immediately, or is this all pending appeal?
So there is a date. I believe the date was January 1st, 2025, if I'm remembering that correctly. And Google is absolutely appealing it, and Google will try to get a temporary stay put in place immediately.
Wait, they're going to say we can't technically do this by January 1st, and we're pending, and we think we're going to win the appeal, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
All that shit.
Yeah. So if all goes well, it should be implemented January 1st. But if Google is able to continue their illegal monopoly, then, they'll be able to get away with it for longer.
I wonder if on January 6th, 2025, if Google will have people like storm the courthouse.
Google will pay people to implement their own January 6th.
Yeah, to steal a door from the courthouse. And for people who don't know about the door, check out the Twitch channel.
What's the Epic guy's name? Tim Sweeney, I think it is.
Yeah, hang Tim
They'll be
Sweeney.
chanting "Hang Tim Sweeney."
Oh, all right. Well, we'll get emails about that one if anybody watches the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got next, HK?
All right, my next story is Postgres 17 is released. Postgres is, their full name is PostgreSQL, is an open source relational database management system that lets developers write SQL, or structured query language, to store and query data. And Postgres 17 comes with performance gains across the board. In my own personal testing, importing a large amount of data into a database, while it took Postgres 16 8 hours to finish, it took Postgres 17 only 4.5 hours. Postgres 17 also adds the JSON table function, allowing developers to query JSON and present the results as relational table data. Logically replicated Postgres instances can now all be upgraded to major new versions at once, meaning better availability during major upgrades. Very good for me, because this is actually a huge deal for me, because I have just switched to Postgres in my email app, Port87, and it drastically improved performance over the MySQL database I was using. And one thing that gave a huge benefit is the trigram indexing support, which speeds up substring matching tremendously. What do you guys think?
Not much, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But the where you said you imported a database and it almost cut it in half. Do you know what the reason for that is? Like do you know anything technically about what the reason for that might be? Because that's the kind of like boost you don't see. Like you don't, like, version to version of anything, basically, you don't ever see that kind of speed improvement. Or not never. It's just not.
It's very rare.
And if you do see it, it's going to maybe be in something that takes milliseconds, so you're not going to notice it anyway. You don't see something going from 8 hours. That would be like me downloading a new version of my video editor and my render of the members show, which sometimes is 5 hours, going from like 40 minutes down to like 23 minutes.
Yeah.
I
So
would argue
I would
with you.
guess based on reading the release notes, my guess is that it has to do with the disk I/O required during the process of building indexes, because most of my data, like most of the actual physical data stored on the disk in my in my database implementation, is just indexes. About 2/3 of what's stored on disk is indexes, and only 1/3 of it is actual like table data. And that's because I use these trigram indexes where in a normal, let's take MySQL for an example. MySQL has this thing called full text indexing, where if you want to search for a substring, you would give it a word, say, for example, like education. And it would have these full text indexes that are based on delimited strings. So where if you have a bunch of text in a column where that text is human language, just like written out English language, spaces, things like spaces and tabs, things like punctuation, those are the delimiters that separate these words. So MySQL is smart enough to look at you querying something like education and go, okay, I'm going to look for the word education. I'm going to look for the word educate. I'm going to look for the word educating, and then kind of rate them in that order. And it will be able to find these words for you. That works for like English language, which, for my case, doing like an email service, it would work for that. But another thing that Postgres supports that MySQL does not is something called trigram indexes, where trigram is the 3n version of an n-gram index. So basically what it means is every part of a string that is 3 or fewer characters long, every substring of that string will be indexed. So if you just take the word fish, for example, F-I-S-H, the trigrams in the word fish are F, F-I, F-I-S, I-S-H, S-H, and H. So there are 6 trigrams just in that one word. So that's why what I was saying, like, it takes a lot of disk space to store those kind of indexes, but it means that you can find substrings incredibly quickly compared to like a full text search, where if you need to look for like a part of a word in MySQL, it's just gonna take you forever, because you'll have to do this like a full table scan. Which at that point, if you're talking about like reading out like millions of rows, that full table scan is going to take probably in the area of like several minutes.
Well, yeah. Okay. Now I really don't understand, but that's okay.
Basically, it makes my email service very fast. And Postgres itself, in my experience, Postgres' query planner is incredibly smart in the case of using indexes, whereas MySQL's query planner is great when you're talking about like simple queries, but when you get into the range of having like more than maybe like 5 or 6 joins and your where clauses are getting real big, MySQL doesn't have that same like intelligence when it comes to its query planner. Its query planner often chooses indexes that are very bad. And I actually made, like in port 87, I rewrote my code for MySQL to like tell it to always use a specific index. And that made some queries really fast, but it also made some queries incredibly slow. So my email service was getting real slow the more and more email I put into it. And switching to Postgres and using basically the same indexes, but also having this trigram index on top of it, it made port 87 so much faster. Oh, and that reminds me, you should go to port87.com and sign up for my awesome email service.
Not a sponsor.
I could sponsor. I sponsor myself.
Then we'd have to like hit the checkbox that says it has a sponsored sponsor in the video.
Okay, not a sponsor then.
I recommend people use Postgres over MySQL whenever I get the chance. Not that really matters because, I don't know why MySQL is so much more popular than Postgres. It is a little bit harder. I wouldn't even say that. It's not really harder to set up Postgres. I think it's pretty easy, but it just works so much better in my experience. I mean, maybe other people have had other experience, but stuff like this where things suddenly work a lot faster is not surprising to me, switching from one to the other. So that's cool.
I will say every time in my life that I have chosen MySQL over Postgres, which has been 2 times, I have regretted it.
Yeah.
And eventually switched to Postgres.
And I feel like the only people who pronounce SQL as SQL are people who started their programming career using Microsoft SQL Server.
As long as you don't pronounce it squeal.
Oh, I like squeal.
Fair.
Oh, God. That pisses me off so much when people say like my squeal. Or
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
Ugh.
Wow.
I love my squeal.
No, don't do that.
But that's another advantage to Postgres because you don't actually have to say however pronounce the SQL however you want. You just
you can just
stop at Postgres. That's it. Which is my final question. Like, do you know where the name Postgres comes from?
No idea.
I have no idea.
But I love it. It's weird and I love it.
Weird. Yeah. It seems like there's a story behind that name. So at some point it should like look it up or something.
I do know where the name MySQL comes from. So the guy who invented MySQL, his daughter is named My, and he named MySQL after his daughter My. And he also named his second product, which is a fork of MySQL, after his other daughter, Maria. So MariaDB is named after the same guy's other daughter. So his 2 daughters, My and Maria, both got database servers named after them.
Did he then have a son named Mongo?
I wish. That would be a great end to that story.
That's better than Debian's a good operating system, but those people just named it after themselves. Deborah and Ian.
Yep. And then he broke up with her. So now one of the world's most popular operating systems is named after a couple that's no longer together.
What's the I want my records back version of that?
I want my apt sources back.
Right. Well, that's good. Anything that speeds up servers. The other thing is people talk, it sped it up, but anything that makes like servers more efficient, like it's going to take a while for this to roll out to like bigger data centers and stuff. But anything that speeds it up also makes it more efficient. Therefore, you're going to use less electricity, less. It's going to use less to do the same thing.
Less power, less time. Yep, less computing overall is good.
That's great. They have extra computing to like draw a Mickey Mouse with 9 fingers. This has been How the Tech Are You? This is our weekly tech show. You can check out all of our other shows at echoplexmedia.com. And follow me particularly, I suppose. There's you show up sometimes there, but it's mostly me. That's at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. Or maybe don't do that. You can support this project just by going to echoplexmedia.com and clicking the support link. There should be stuff here. I don't know. Click the things here. Have a great tech and week.